Welcome. Today, we're going to roll up our sleeves and get into the nitty-gritty of user experience. We're going to take a pretty basic functional app form and transform it into something that feels really polished and honestly, just a joy to use.
So let's kick things off with a big question. Is an app that just works really good enough? I mean, we've all used them, right? The apps that get the job done, they save your data, but they don't feel great. Then you have the ones that are just buttery smooth and intuitive. The difference almost always comes down to a bunch of tiny, thoughtful details.
Okay, so take a look at this. This is our starting point. It's a profile form that is technically 100% functional. You can type in it, you can hit save, and your data gets stored. But watch it in action. It feels kind of clunky, a little disconnected, doesn't it? It gives you absolutely no feedback until you hit that save button.
So yeah, this is our baseline, a form that's functional, but totally forgettable. It does what it's supposed to, but it doesn't talk back to the user at all, which can lead to a really clunky and sometimes frustrating experience. And that is exactly what we're here to fix. All right, here's our game plan. First, we're going to define what a polished feel actually means in practice. Then we'll inject some real intelligence into the form itself. After that, we are going to tackle that very generic-looking button. And finally, we'll see how it all comes together in the finished product. Our mission today is to totally elevate this user experience, and we're going to do it with 5 specific key enhancements. We're talking live validation, so the form gives you feedback in real time. We'll add error highlights so you know exactly where you went wrong. We'll use autofocus to create a much smoother flow. We're building a smart save button that knows when it's okay to be pressed. And finally, we'll give that button a nice UI polish. Now, on their own, they might seem like small changes, but trust me, together they create a completely different and way better experience. First up, let's make this form smarter. We want it to communicate with the user as they're using it, giving them instant feedback and a bit of logic. So the first big shift in thinking is this. We're going to stop being so passive. Instead of waiting for the user to hit submit before we tell them there's a problem, we're going to start tracking errors for that name field instantly as they type. And the logic for this is actually pretty simple. With every single keystroke, the app is running a tiny check. Is this input valid or not? Based on that simple decision, it knows right away whether to show a success state or an error state. Okay, so now the app knows there's an error, but we need a super clear visual way to tell the user where the problem is. And a red border, that's pretty much the universal signal for, hey, pay attention to this. This right here is the magic of conditional styling. The app is just constantly asking, is there an error? If the answer is yes, boom, it applies that red border style. The second the answer is no, it snaps right back to the normal style. It's immediate, crystal clear feedback for the user. And this is the result. The user sees the problem the very instant it happens. They delete the text, the field turns red, the error message pops up. No more hitting save and playing a guessing game about what went wrong. Now let's move on to the next enhancement, which builds a much smoother workflow. Once the user fixes their name, we don't want them to have to manually tap into the next field. We can actually do it for them by autofocusing right on the bio field. We pull this off by creating what's essentially a direct connection, or a handle, to that next input field. We're basically telling the app, hey, see this specific bio field? I'm going to need to interact with it directly in a second. And here's the magic in action. As soon as a valid name is typed in, the cursor just automatically jumps down to the bio field. This creates this seamless, guided path for the user, and it makes the whole form feel faster and way more intuitive. Okay, to finish up our smart form logic, we're going to prevent user frustration. I mean, if the form isn't valid, we shouldn't even let them try to save it, right? So we'll disable the button and fade it out visually so it's obvious. What's really elegant here is how the form's own state directly controls the button. The form's validity acts like a light switch. If the form is valid, the switch is on and the button is active and bright. If it's invalid, the switch flips to off, which both locks the button and makes it look faded. The button is now completely aware of what's happening in the form. Okay, our form logic is now solid. It's intelligent, it's communicative, but that button, it still looks like a default system button, doesn't it? Let's give it a much-needed visual upgrade to match our new polished experience. I mean, the difference is just night and day. We're going from this generic, basic button to something that feels custom designed for this app. We're giving it a nice background color, some bold white text, rounded corners, and a really clear, faded look for when it's disabled. And achieving this is all about defining a custom set of styles for our button, getting it far away from the system default. And here's the idea. We're essentially defining a style recipe for our button, how much padding it has, its color, the corner radius. We also define a separate faded style for when it's disabled. The app just has to apply the correct set of styles based on whether the button is active or not. So we've added live validation, error highlighting, autofocus, and a smart restyled button. After putting in these 5 changes, let's see how they all come together to completely transform the experience. And this is the payoff. Just watch the flow. The instant feedback on the name field, the automatic jump to the bio, the save button just coming to life only when it's ready. This is no longer a form that just works. It's an experience that feels smooth, responsive, and it guides the user effortlessly to success. So the huge takeaway here is that a collection of small, really thoughtful details can combine to have a massive impact. Live validation, visual highlights, a seamless flow, a smart button, and a polished UI, they all work together to build user trust and take your app from just functional to fantastic. And that leaves us with a final thought to take with you. Now that you've seen the impact of these changes, what other small, almost invisible details can you find and polish in your own apps to take them from being good to being truly great?